Good morning. Prepared Suburbanite here. Wanted to share with you some thoughts I've got about the upcoming inauguration. I believe that the country is under threat, and I want to get into some detail with you right after this. Well, I'm not in a position to make any predictions about what's going to happen on Inauguration Day, Friday, January 20th, at noon or before or after. But I do believe that our country is under a great threat. The peaceful transition of government has been a hallmark of our federal republic for over 200 years. It's been successful, it's been the cornerstone, and it works. This year, in particular, I've found the news to be very, very chilling. I have heard that they're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 to 1 million participants at the inauguration event on Friday at noon. How many of those are going to be friendly and how many of those are not going to be friendly, yet to be determined. One group in particular, called Disrupt J20, and J is January, so Disrupt J20, has come out and said, quote, "We are not in favor of the peaceful transition of power," end quote. They're calling for blockades of entrances and exits to the event. They have other scheduled events in at least 26 other cities outside the District of Columbia. They believe that Donald Trump stands for tyranny, greed, and misogyny, and he is the harbinger of climate catastrophe, deportation, discrimination, and endless war. In addition to that, the Women's March is scheduled for Saturday, January 21st. And at last count, there were over 1,200 bus permits granted to allow these protesters to enter the Washington, D.C. area. The Progressive Independent Party has been granted permits, two permits, totaling 15,000 protesters. The DC Action Lab has been granted a permit for at least 10,000 participants. Real Progressives has been granted a permit for 2,500. People's Action has been granted a permit for 2,000. Those are the protesters. Doesn't appear to me to be that Disrupt J20 has been granted any permits for their participation in this movement. On the other side, Bikers for Trump have been granted a permit for 5,000 participants. There's expected to be at least that many bikers, if not more. So what's really going on here? Well, the divisiveness is out of control. At least 25 Democrat lawmakers are going to boycott or have announced their intentions to boycott the inauguration. Well, it just doesn't seem to me that they speak the unity and tolerance that they've espoused themselves to believe in as one of their core beliefs. It just doesn't seem logical to me that a boycott of Democratic lawmakers from both the House and possibly even the Senate is really going to do anything to create unity, to create an environment where activities can be done in harmony across the aisles. It just doesn't seem that that's going to be the real positive thing. So what's it mean for us as the prepared community, as preppers? Well, it means you've got a few days left to make sure that your food, water inventories are buffed up and up to date, that you've got what you need to get through a potentially very rough period. Have you got your shelter secured? Do you have your home-based security up to date? Are your knives sharpened? Do you have all your ammo sorted? Do you have your magazines loaded? Are your rifles and shotguns in a position where you can readily get to them if you need them? Are your bug-out bags, your get-home bags, and your everyday carry up to date? It's January. It's winter time. Have you converted your bags to winter apparel? Throwing in an extra wool cap, pair of gloves, taking out the short sleeve shirts and put in long sleeve shirts and sweatshirts, that kind of a thing to keep you warm if you have to bug out, if there's going to be a period of social unrest that could be quite devastating. Have you reviewed your bug out plan? Do you know exactly what you are going to do, where you're going to go, how you're going to get there? Have you gassed up your vehicles? Are you ready to go if you have to go? Is your vehicle loaded and ready to go? If you're not going to bug out, that means you're going to be bugging in. It's either in or out. So if you're going to be bugging in, do you have your bug in plan all ironed out? Do you know where people are going to be? Do you know where the sleeping arrangements are going to be? If you're going to have your family join you at your homestead, or if you're going to join a family member at their secure location. Things to think about. One of the things that I'm pretty concerned about is really the lack of the Republican GOP conservative side of this coming out with news, with pop-ups, with videos on YouTube, with anything beyond just a passing mention that there's a potential for some protesting activities at the inauguration. And I've been kind of floored by that. There's been a lot of news reports here and there about some of the activities, but not in detail, and I don't think that they're really touching on the pulse that's driving the protests and how violent those protests are going to be. Yeah, I've heard that the general that's in charge of the District of Columbia's National Guard has been asked to step down at 12:01 p.m. on Friday during the inauguration. And they say that the timing is very suspect. Well, in a follow-up report, I've learned that this particular general, who's in charge of the D.C. National Guard, has routinely offered his resignation to every incoming president that he has served under. Apparently, those in the past have not accepted his resignation and allowed him to continue to serve. He serves at the pleasure of the president. Apparently, the Trump administration either didn't respond or said, no, we accept it, but we'd like you to stay on for the whole day because you're going to be launching your troops. We'd like to make sure that you can bring them back. And he declined So it wasn't that Trump forced him out. They accepted his offered resignation and asked him to stay on for the remainder of the day, and he is the one that said, no, I won't. I'm very, very concerned about the events of the past few weeks, at least since the election. I'm horribly concerned that all the things that we've been prepping for, and a lot of us in the prepper community may have been tempted to set those preps aside for a while to breathe a sigh of relief. I don't think we can breathe any sigh of relief. I suspect, but I won't make any predictions, that there will be events that occur on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, surrounding and in conjunction with the inauguration that could be a devastating blow to the way things have been. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to keep your preps up to date and be prepared always. And I'm out for now.